And that is your full lineup for this morning, as they just see the floor there sparking, but not from the point of the floor that we normally see. And
Mercedes, known for its dominance on the track, finds itself in a turbulent season with the W5 car. From Saudi Arabian heartaches to Bahrain bafflements, the road to victory seems fraught with challenges. But what's truly causing the mighty Mercs to stumble? Let's unravel the mysteries behind Mercedes' struggles and explore the interesting dynamics shaping the 2024 Formula One season. Mercedes was supposed to dominate the 2024 season. Well, things aren't going to plan. Last weekend's Saudi Arabian Grand Prix was like a roller coaster ride for the Mercedes crew. Their W5 car seemed to have a kink in its armor, especially when it came to those hair-raising high-speed corners. Despite all the hype, the two W15 cars barely scraped together 10 points. Ouch, it's like watching your favorite team fumble at the final stretch. The folks at Brackley HQ must have been biting their nails. But wait, there is more. Lewis Hamilton, the golden boy of F1, couldn't quite shine bright this time. Mercedes took a gamble on strategy, but it has backfired. However, it was the least of the team's concerns, as one of the main problems they've had the last 2 years seems to be back again. Their car just couldn't find its balance. Imagine driving at top speed only to feel your car bouncing. Not exactly ideal. To make matters worse, in the first part of the track, the car struggled to stay steady because the back end didn't grip the road well enough. This led to some nerve-wracking moments where the car seemed to slide too much. Despite being a powerhouse in F1, Mercedes didn't do so well in this race. They finished much lower than usual, coming in 6th and 9th. It was their worst start to a season in a long time. Why did they struggle though? Well, it seems they didn't quite understand their new car, the W5. Even the smartest engineers were scratching their heads, trying to figure out how to make it perform better. When race day arrived, the Mercedes drivers found themselves fighting not just against their rivals, but against their own cars. If they don't sort out these issues quickly, they're just going to lag behind McLaren and Ferrari, but even Aston Martin, who's been revving up their game lately. Can you imagine? Are the mighty Mercedes playing catch-up to the likes of Aston Martin? The trackside engineers at Mercedes are not sitting on their hands. They're digging deep to find what went wrong in the Bahrain and Jeddah. They're dissecting every inch of the car's performance, trying to figure out where it all went sideways. Even after all that digging, they're still scratching their heads. They just can't seem to wrap their minds around why the car's behaving like it's got a mind of its own on different parts of the track. So, let's dive into what went wrong during the Mercedes race debrief. Andrew Chauvelin had us all hooked as he delved into the nitty-gritty of setup choices and how our drivers fine-tune their rides throughout the race weekend. Normally, the team doesn't roll the same setup for both cars on Fridays. But guess what? This time, they started off pretty much identical setups. After the FP1 session, the drivers piped up with their thoughts. Here's where it gets really interesting. Both drivers were sweating bullets over the pesky issue of bouncing. So, the team put their thinking caps on and decided to make fixing this their top priority. And let me tell you, it wasn't just a straightforward fix. Oh no, they had to get creative. They're talking about tweaking the equilibrium, finding that compromise that would make their cars go through all kinds of curves more precisely. However, the balance achieved in that session perhaps wasn't as optimal as in the FP1. Consequently, the team began to converge back in the general setup direction they started from. It's essential to note that learning occurs when changes are made, allowing them to discern real differences. They also assessed the overall performances of both cars, discovering that fundamentally, the limits experienced in qualifying and the race were essentially the same for both. This suggests a deeper issue that requires thorough investigation and understanding. The conversation that turned to the crucial information acquired during the first few rounds of the 2024 season, according to Chauvelin. He stressed that information from Jeddah would be especially helpful in better planning Australia's next weekend. beginning with open practice. Jeddah data is important, but their strategy is not solely based on it, they add. In addition to the ongoing work in the aerodynamics department, they're also evaluating data from the race and test in Bahrain. Their goal is to create aerodynamic experiments that ideally will yield insightful information and help them organize how to approach Melbourne's first open practice session. This comprehensive approach shows their dedication to utilizing every resource at their disposal in order to optimize performance and maintain a competitive edge. The technical director, James Allison, and his team are scratching their heads over some major errors in the rule book. Yep, seems like F1's rule makers might have made a mistake. They were all hyped up about these fancy new ground effect regulations, thinking they'd make the race more competitive, but things aren't going according to plan. So what's the deal? Well, instead of getting closer, the racing field is kind of staying put. Red Bull's still rocking the leaderboard, leaving others in the dust. James Allison says it ain't just about Red Bull being a speed demon. No, he thinks there's something wrong with the rulebook. According to him, the rule makers focused too much on controlling the turbulence behind the cars, hoping to make things more exciting. But looks like they missed the mark. Teams are left scratching their heads, wondering what went wrong. Now, here's the question. Whose fault is it really? Is it Red Bull's fault for being too good? Or did the rule makers drop the ball? James Allison thinks it's a bit of both. Sure, teams gotta step up their game, but hey, maybe the rule makers should have thought things through a bit better. Allison continued by expressing his views on the current state of racing and the regulations in place. He stated that while the FIA's explicit focus on removing dirty air to facilitate close racing has its merits, it's not just the only factor that contributes to exciting races, though. Allison questioned whether the rules had failed in delivering better racing, but he didn't necessarily attribute one team's dominance to the regulations. He pointed out that their job as a team is to ensure that they can put up a good fight, regardless of the regulations. However, he acknowledged that there are aspects of the regulations that don't serve any of the teams. In particular, he highlighted concerns about cars hugging the ground excessively and the focus on controlling wakes while neglecting the importance of tire behavior. Allison likened the idea of controlling wakes to a futile endeavor, suggesting that it's akin to tilting at windmills. He noted that this aspect of the regulations has been thoroughly tested and found wanting. Despite this, he commended Red Bull for their performance and emphasized that the rest of the teams have a duty to improve. What are your thoughts on Mercedes' struggles with their W5 car in the 2024 Formula One season? Be sure to share your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you guys in the next one.